Levi Wallace, Patrick Peterson, huge circles, red flashing lights on them early in this game. Fans were losing their minds on social media about how bad both of these guys were. And then Levi Wallace comes up with 2 interceptions, including a game winner, and Patrick Peterson comes up with an interception of his own, all forced by TJ Watt, except for the last one, I believe. Big game for both of them. You got thoughts on these cornerbacks and whether or not Pittsburgh Steelers fans should be freaking out or feel a little confident in who they got back there?
I wouldn't say freak out. Okay. But man, like there's just this. The secondary is like the corners specifically are without a doubt the weakest part of a really good defense.
Yeah,
that's like part of that's just how good everyone else has been, but man, like just getting run straight past like a lot of times, and I thought a lot of these interceptions, Jimmy G gave him some help. Like you said, TJ Watt gave him some help. Like they were in good situations to make those plays, and they made those plays, so you got to give them credit for that. But I'm still a little concerned about the corners. You just think about them having to go up against like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and like that stuff. That stuff worries me. I mean, even I think what like Seattle's going to give you in later in the season, like they've got there's a bunch of good receivers on this schedule, so I think I worry about that. But I also think that the Steelers can help them out with a little bit better, like I think about really early in the game. Joey Porter came on for Levi Wallace, and he was covering Devontae Adams, and Joey didn't have to do much to force an incompletion against Adams because he had help over the top. Like you have to know when a team has one really great receiver, okay, let's not just leave Levi Wallace out on an island against Devontae Adams, who's one of, if not the best receivers in the league. Like let's help him out. Let's be realistic about what Levi Wallace is able to do and what he's capable of and who he's playing against, and let's not make him look bad on his, because Levi Wallace just cannot cover a receiver like that for an entire game.
No.
So I think it's a mix of, I think Levi Wallace is Levi Wallace, and you know who that is. So at that point, it becomes it falls to the coaching staff and to the defensive play caller to give him some help and be realistic about your personnel.
Yeah, I agree. I think that who, like just like you said, who Levi Wallace is. In my opinion, Levi Wallace is a phenomenal cornerback 3 who could be a cornerback 2 if you need him to be. Patrick Peterson's probably in that same boat. Those are your starters, and you got to deal with it. And the Pittsburgh Steelers, this is where the challenge comes in, because for one side, and you have to mention this because just like you said, Devontae Adams might be the best wide receiver in football. He's, I think he doesn't get the respect that he deserves most of the time when people are talking about the great wide receivers in football. There should be nobody in there's like maybe 5 corners in the league that if they consistently got beat by Devontae Adams, you could judge them for it. The rest of them, you're like, okay, well, like what are you supposed to do against this guy? Like you're playing the hardest position in football against probably the best guy at the position that you have to cover. Like nearly impossible. But just like you said, you have to be able to utilize the players around you to make Levi Wallace and Patrick Peterson suitable. And you could do that. The Steelers have won in the past with a really strong defensive front and just like a do enough defensive secondary. They've never had, outside of Ike Taylor, there was no cornerback that came through Pittsburgh that probably is a long-term starter on another team before like Joe Hayden, or Steven Nelson. But before that, when it was the Ike Taylor, Brian McFadden, the Ike Taylor, William Gay, the Ike Taylor, Ross Cockrell days, there was never a cornerback 2. There was never like that superstar. And later in Gay and Taylor's career, there was really nobody. And they just won straight with their safeties and their defensive front. They were able to force bad passes and have help over the middle. And that's what they need to do. They have Minkah Fitzpatrick. KZ is a phenomenal cover safety. Like, utilize him as much as you can. And, Keanu Neal's not bad either. Like, you could find ways to do that. But, yeah, you're right. You have to not freak out because it's who you are, it's who you're stuck with. You have to hope Joey Porter develops. And at the same time, you have to find a way to remove as much pressure from these guys as possible. Otherwise, you're going to continue to get beat. And just like you said, like the list is ridiculous. Like you know, at some point you're probably going to play OBJ. You're going to play, I mean, what's his name in LA is ridiculous right now, that rookie.
Oh, Puka Nacua.
Yeah, you play him in 3 weeks. You got Calvin Ridley. You got DeAndre Hopkins. You got, you know, possibly Christian Watson if he's healthy. Amari Cooper again. All of Cincinnati. You know, you got Marquise Brown at some point. Does New England have wide receivers? Is that a position that they play?
Well, I mean,
they have Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah.
There you go.
Worry about it. I wouldn't really worry about him, but yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. There are names out there outside of New England, obviously, that you have to worry about, and you gotta be able to work around that.
Yeah, and I think you make a good point about. It seems like they are just kind of counting on Joey Porter Jr. getting better and better as the season goes along, which it seems like he has at least so far. I mean, he wasn't in very much last night, but he was good every time he was in, did his job. So I think that's another. That's a reason for optimism, I guess I would say, is that you know, you can see Joey making strides, and there's a world where he gets to the point where he can be a real contributor, and then you can move Patrick Peterson around a little bit more, and just gives you more options in that secondary. So, yeah, I mean, you kind of count on just being able to do enough until Joey's ready for that challenge and ready to be kind of a bigger contributor and more of a full-time guy.
Yeah, I agree. So last night, Joey Porter played 38% of the defensive snaps, 27 compared to, I'm trying to find them here. Are there other people here? Oh, here they are. Here's the starters. Patrick Peterson played 99% of the Steelers' defensive snaps, 71 snaps, and Levi Wallace played 93, 67. Like, you got to develop Joey Porter a little bit quicker. You know, you got to just toss him in the fire a little bit more. Who cares if he's ready? Put him out there. He's made plays. Stop. Like, if he doesn't make plays, cool. You tossed Kenny Pickett out there and said, hey, man, eat. You know, get eaten by the Wolves and fight your way back. And it hasn't worked out the greatest, but if you're going to do that with a quarterback, you got to do that with a corner. Like, you got to toss him out there a little bit more. You got to look for some help. I think he's got potential too. So at this point, you know, there's really nothing holding him back. Like, work him in there a little bit more and just see what happens.